I'm
Okay.
here with Mr. Greg Friel on Maui, Haleakala Ranch. Yeah?
Yeah,
How was work today?
not bad. Not bad. Getting old. Things getting a little bit rough.
I hear you loud and clear, brother. I hear you loud and clear.
The mind tell you can, and the body tell you who you kidding. But
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, you're looking good. I mean, for the most part.
yeah, yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
Been a
So,
good life.
so let's get a starting point here. What grade you started Kamehameha?
Seven.
Okay. Were you a boarder in seventh grade?
No, no. I lived with well, at that time my mom was still alive, so I was living with my my mom them in Kaneohe, Kahalu.
Okay.
And, uh, but yeah, I started seventh grade.
Right
Um,
on. And then so we made it through, graduated. Um, what happened to you right after graduation?
I was trying to move. I had a sister lived in Hilo from when I was in fourth grade. So every vacation I was up there. Christmas break, summer, all summer. I was up there and I was trying to get my mom to let me move up there with my sister and her family. And then I got into Kamehameha and then it was like, no way she was gonna let me out of there. So my mom passed, I was a junior, so I figured, okay, now I can move to Hilo. So I told my brother in law and my sister, I go, so what? Can move up now. My sister doesn't say anything, but my brother-in-law goes, "So, what would mom want?" I go, "Oh shit, one more year. I got to finish one more year on Oahu." So yeah, in fact, yeah. So that was junior year, senior year, graduated, and I think like 3 4 days after graduation, I went to Hilo. Um, I guess from sophomore summer of sophomore year, every summer I would go up. I would go work this Shipman Ranch on Mauna Kea, and so after graduation, I went up, worked for them that summer, and then started. I was taking ag and animal science in Hilo, and went a couple years, and I was working. You remember John Crane, John and Lonnie
John,
Crane? They were boarders, but they were from North Shore, Mokuleia. John would have been class of '73, and the sister was 1 year, 2 years behind us, '77.
what's the last name again?
Cran, C
Yeah,
R
okay,
A N. Yeah.
okay, okay.
But their dad at that time, he was the ranch manager at Dillingham Ranch down in Mokuleia when we were in school. I never knew them really then, but then the dad picked up state lease in '79, and somehow I met him, and I'd go out, give him a hand, stay with him. Them on the ranch had a bunch of empty cabins. He had a couple of employees, but he had some empty houses, so I'd go up, stay on the weekends, work with him. I
Now,
worked
let me back up to sophomore summer. When you would go up there to work for the summer, what kind of work were you doing?
ranching, so
Okay.
fencing, cattle work, you know. So yeah, I don't know how I got into it because I got no family in agriculture, let alone ranching in our immediate family. But I think between John Wayne and all those Louis L'Amour books I read, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how I was going to get there because I had no into the industry. And the funny thing is, all those guys that I worked with for Shipman Ranch during those summers when we were in high school, they were all from Hilo. They all had family backgrounds. Some of them had small family ranches, but none of them stayed in ranching. They all went to construction, forestry, and other jobs. And I was the only one. I was the kid from Oahu that stayed in the industry all these years.
Wow.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, but you had the love, the passion for it, so that probably helped you stay in.
Yeah, yeah. The only thing I realize is when I tell these young kids because only one trouble, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. But the only trouble with that is you get old fast because days just fly by. Years, heck, this is April already, almost May. Another year is almost halfway gone, and seems like we just got through, you know, last branding and stuff, and here we are. We finished up another round, and we're just, there's just life just flies by when you don't dread what you do. You're looking forward to what's coming up next, what's coming up. So it's been good, but like I said, time flies by.
Yeah. So you're in Hilo, working for Shipman Ranch. How long are you kind of with them, or
Just those 3 summers, and then I went to school full time. But their lands that they leased were where they ran the most of their cattle up on Mauna Kea, and they weren't the ownership was really elderly. They had no family that was going to take over, and so they when those leases came up in '77, they didn't bid on it, and so that ranch basically our last summer was just uh, gathering those cattle, getting a count on them, and selling them to whoever was taking over the ranch. And um,
wow,
but yeah,
was it a local family?
yeah, it was so Shipmans had been in Hawaii for I don't know I don't know when they had gotten on, and they were big conservationists and big in Hilo, sugar and ranching. And then the guys that took it over were about 4 partners, and they were all local businessmen from Hilo, and they took over the leases, and then they bought the cattle from the ranch, um,
And did
and
you just stay on and continue working for them?
no, I was started school full time that September for college, and right in Hilo.
Oh, okay. So you did what, 4 years of school?
I went 2.5. Then I realized I was learning more from Gordon, the guy I was working for, than going to school. And probably the kicker was I think I was in my junior year, and we had to do this report on the economics of getting heifers bred at 2 year olds. And basically, my thought was you couldn't do it because the economics of raising those cattle in Hawaii, you couldn't afford the feed, the importation of feed and whatnot, and they had to do it just on pasture and blah blah blah. And so the report, I don't know how long it was. It was it was a big part of your semester grade, so it was a big report. Ran it by my boss. He agreed with everything. He said, "Yeah, this makes perfect sense." I flunked that thing. The guy gave me an F. I goes, "What's the deal?" I goes, "These are all the reasons why you can't afford to do this in Hawaii." He goes, "Well, the answers are in the book." I go, "Yeah, the goddamn book's printed in Nebraska. We're not in Nebraska." And so I went I went to work. Well, I went and worked for the guy Gordon Crane for room and board for about 3 months, and then he hired me on full time, and I worked for him for about 10 years.
But on the Big Island.
Yeah, that was in Kau, Kapapala Ranch, and that was it bounded with the Volcano National Park and ran south into Pahala.
Now, is he John's father?
John's father. Yeah.
Okay, so but you mentioned on Oahu. Did they move or
Yeah. In '77, he picked up that lease. Dillinghams were selling the ranch. They were same thing. They were the ones that wanted to ranch were getting up in age. The younger generations had no interest in it, and so it was more of a real estate move to sell the ranch. And um, so Gordon saw the writing on the wall, and so he went out looking for lands to lease, and he ended up picking up that state land out in Kau.
okay.
But yeah,
So you worked for them for about 10 years.
I worked for him for 10 years. Um, and he got a call from a friend of his. A guy ran a ranch on Kauai, and told him he was interested in talking to me about working for him. And so Gordon told me, hey, there's probably a good opportunity for you. Maybe you should go talk story with this guy. So his name was Lindy Sutherland. He flew me over to this Kipukai Ranch on Kauai. Went over there, visited. It was a completely different type of operation. It was purebred operation, smaller. Their market was bulls, where when I worked for Gordon, the market was calves that were going to go into the feedlot and stuff. So it was a different side of the industry, but it was interesting. And so by that time, I was married. My wife, my son was 3 when we left Kau, and we went to Kauai for just a few years. I think it was 3 or 4 years. And for me, it was a little bit of claustrophobia. That Kau Ranch was big, and that that one on Kauai was when you're sitting on the front porch in the morning, putting on your shoes, you could see the whole ranch from your front porch, and it was like kind of got to me little. It was a valley that opened right to the ocean. It was a beautiful place, but I think it was more claustrophobia than anything else. And so that would have been I was there from '87 to '90, and then these guys from Hana Ranch called me, asked me if I'd be interested moving to Hana and being the livestock manager there. It
Now
was
the
a
community, I guess, then you're getting calls from these different people and opportunities are popping up. You guys know each other ahead of time or
I'd never met Lindy, the guy that hired me at Kipukai, but some of the younger guys that he knew, um, I'd met them at seminars and stuff. I never worked with them one on one, but it's a small industry. I mean, across the country, it's a pretty small industry. You find out after a while. Um, but yeah, these guys they'd call, ask, see if I was interested in going. So um, I we flew, my wife and I and my son, we flew to Hana and looked at the ranch and looked at it, figured, well, I think I could work there, and that was a great move. The community was a great place to live. Um, Frank James was there. Um, Val Kalaniopio Cook. She
okay.
worked. She was, in fact, she was my boss's secretary, executive secretary for the company. And so when I was in office, we were in the same office, and um, but just a great place to raise the kids. My daughter was born on Kipukai on Kauai, but when she was like 6 months old when we moved to Hana, and so till today, those two kids they only went to school for a few years there, but till today they got friends that they're all grown up. My boy is 41. My daughter's 36, and still go in for the weekend and go visit with friends and stuff that they went to school with when they were in kindergarten, first grade to fifth grade, and whatnot.
Awesome, man.
It really made some lifelong friends coming out of there.
And during this period, your wife was a homemaker?
On Kauai, she worked because my boy was already in school. So she'd go to Lihue, which wasn't too far, was maybe half hour away. The biggest deal was opening all the gates to get over the mountain to get there.
Wow.
Uh, and then when she got close, expected with my daughter, then she stopped working. And then when she started school, when my daughter started school, then my wife went back to work. And until we left, Tana, we left Tana in '94, late '94, early '95, and then we moved to Haleakala, and shoot, been there 30 something years now. It's the longest I've lived anywhere in my life.
Wow. Now,
It,
your wife is a Big Island girl?
no, actually, she's from Hakipu down past Waihole, Ka'ava, that stretch of Oahu. Not quite the North Shore yet, still on the Eastern Shore.
Where'd you guys meet?
Uh, I went back to Oahu for a couple of weeks. I was off from school, and of all places, we were playing volleyball up at the park, and I met her. So it was a long distance romance for about 4 years.
Wow.
And I guess I was living on a big island, and every once in a while I'd fly back or she'd fly up. And then I guess one of my sisters and her auntie thought we were dragging it out too long, and I was gonna fly down to go visit. And so my wife, Roxanne, we were still just dating at the time. She told me, "Oh, we got to go to your sister's for dinner." I go, "Oh, okay." So we pull in and we see her. Roxanne's auntie's car is there too. So, oh, what's going on? We walk in a house, and we'd been dating about 4 years already now. And my sister and her auntie are at the kitchen table with these yellow tablets writing out stuff. So, what are you guys doing? Goes, oh, making the list and plans for your guys' wedding. I goes, oh, well, how many people got on that list? They goes, about 400. I go, that's too damn many. I go, tell you what, let's move it to the Big Island, and that'll cut off a bunch of them. So we ended up maybe 6 months later, we got married up on the ranch. And otherwise, we might still be dating 30 years, 40 years later. I guess it's been what? We got married in 1980. So it's been 45 years this summer.
Wow, but that's impressive for this today's day and age, you know.
Impressive. I've drug her all around the boondocks, but luckily she was a country girl to start with, so um, it didn't bother her to being out in the sticks all the time. But
So what does your son do?
he works on the ranch.
Okay.
Uh, he went. He was never a student. He learns by doing, and bookwork and stuff was never his strong point. Kind of like me. And so he always worked on a ranch from probably when he was about fourth grade, fifth grade. He'd go to work with me all every vacation. And he went off to school in Hilo for 1 year. Came back, told me, "Yeah, Dad, I don't like it." He says, "I can't learn like that."
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, I could work for the ranch." He goes, "Well, you go talk to the guy that hired me. He was the president of the ranch. His name was Peter Baldwin." And I told my son, "Well, you go talk to Uncle Peter, see what he thinks." So
Brother,
he went.
fix your camera. We can only see half your face.
Oh, he went and went up to the office and talked to Peter, and he said, "Well, when you're ready to work." So he started work the next week, and so he got out of school in 2002. Then he went to college for a year, so like 2003. So hell, he's got 20 years on a ranch already. Yeah, time just flies.
Yeah. And how about your daughter?
She's works up at the national park. She just came back maybe about a year or so ago. She'd gone to the mainland for school. She was in Northern California. Went to school up there. Stayed up there working for about 6, 7 years. Came home for a few years to work. Then her and a couple of friends were going to try start a little business, and so they moved back up. And so she was in outside around Santa Barbara or someplace, and they got this little company going. And then kind of with COVID and things kind of went downhill.
Mm.
Then she started running these little restaurants in Santa Barbara. And then uh, I guess I was having a few wrecks and some health problems, and she came home about a year and a half ago to keep an eye on the old man and mom and make sure things are going. So she started working up at the park about 6 months after she got home. So she likes it. She gets up on Haleakala every day, and then gets a chance. She gets home and she goes. She works with me on her days off and goes ride with my. She's not married. My boy's got 3 kids. The oldest one is 19. She's been working down with the at the vet clinic down the road. The middle one is a boy. He's a freshman, and then the youngest one is like third grade. So the 2 girls, they ride a lot. They work with me a lot. The boy, I don't think he can take the pressure. Papa is a little too rough on
Oh, brother, ease up, ease up.
him. Hey, they say I'm a lot more mellow now than I'm a grandfather. The the boys that work on a ranch, when my granddaughter was born and stuff, they go, "Oh, gee, Cody, you should have got had kids a long time ago because your father sure mellowing out now." I goes, "Nah, you guys finally know how to work."
Oh, God. Okay, so 3 grandkids.
Yeah.
Any desire maybe from any? Well, I guess the only one's old enough, but and one sounds like he's Powell High School already. But you foresee maybe possibly any of them going Kamehameha or?
Um, I don't know. The oldest one, she tried a few times and never got into the Maui campus. And then the little one, if anything, she talks about it. She's in third grade now, so I'm not sure when the next. I guess maybe seventh grade would be. Because my daughter graduated from this campus over here,
Oh, okay, okay.
Maui, and so in fact, I think she was like 2007 or something. That was like the second graduating class of that campus.
Wow.
So, and when she went off to college, she was like, "Oh," I told her when she got into Kamehameha, I told her, "You know what? Take advantage of what there is because you're not going to realize what you got at a high school." And when she came back from her first year of college, she goes, "Dad, you was right." She goes, "A college doesn't have the facilities, the infrastructure, the equipment that high school had, but it was just you know, something you got to remember not to take for granted." Yeah.
Yeah, and you realize it, and I realized it looking back too. It's like there was a lot there, a lot of food on the plate. I just didn't eat enough of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh Oh boy. So what are your plans? Do you foresee retiring or
Yeah, I got the house lot up in Volcano Village. So when I can't do do the work, then I'm gonna have to just call it quits. And right now, like I said, past couple of years, I had was having some problems, but found out it was just I needed a pacemaker. Once they kicked that in and they upped the RPMs on my heart, felt top shape again. So the year before that, I was seriously thinking about retiring because I was just always tired and not feeling up to it. But they put in that pacemaker and made all the difference. So,
hmm,
but and I think the secret to that long marriage is not being home all the time.
you're not there enough to drive her crazy, eh?
Yeah, like I was listening to your interview with Kalani, and it's the same thing. I so much of what was going on with the kids, I never saw just because the hours were long, and you know, Mayday was these guys tell me, oh, they want to take off for Mayday. I go, take off for Mayday? What the hell? You know, Jesus Christ, we got a job to do. Oh, but my boss is telling me, let them go check on the kids and see, what's the program. Yeah, so I never, I guess, different generation, different mindset. So now it's like, well, I spent a lot more time with my grandkids than I did with my kids, and it's it's been good.
Good, good, good. So I mean, you say you feel better with the pacemaker, but do you still need to kind of keep an eye on what you do or, you know?
Um, the biggest thing is I gotta really stay hydrated. I got dehydrated a few times pretty bad where I ended up in the ER over the past few years. And so I gotta and basically gotta make sure I pack enough water with me. I never used to pack water on the horse, and now I need to pack a canteen or one of those camel packs and just drinking water all day long.
Yeah, I same with me. I don't drink nearly enough water, but I don't know. I never have really, but I see the importance of it now,
Yeah, yeah.
trying to
And
trying to give me some light. I cannot see my old eyes. This kind of technology. So are you at home now or
yeah,
looks
I
like
just got
you're
yeah, just a little bit hot in the house. So just sitting out in the yard under one of the trees, and
yeah,
uh,
sometimes that just is all the difference, someplace with a little bit of breeze.
yeah, yeah. But yeah.
It's just smarter than me, I guess. I don't know how to. Oh well. At least I can see enough to not knock myself out when I stand up. So So are you gonna come to the reunion in June?
Yeah, planning on it. Uh, my wife and I will go down and um, go check it out. I guess the last one I went to was, what year did we host the luau? Was that 24th or something? Our 24th anniversary? When
Yeah,
our
that was like what, '07 or something, or well, it would have to have been a year that ended with
four.
four,
Yeah,
because we would have hosted the year before,
yeah, yeah. So I went
2004.
to the one that we hosted the luau, and then I went to our the next year. That was the only two I went to.
They had a recent little get together on Maui. Did you get in on
Yeah,
that or?
we were fighting fire on a ranch that
Oh,
was at Kelly's house. But we're in the middle. That was in July. We had a big fire up, broke out on the Crater Road, going up to the national park, and
oh, wow.
so we're fighting fire for about a month up there.
Ooh, man.
Yeah, past couple of years were bad for fires. That year before, that one that hit Lahaina, there were actually one, two, four fires that day. Two of them were on the ranch on this side. One was up in Kula off of the ranch, and then the big one in Lahaina. I guess that was August 23 or something. But yeah, it's well, those were crazy just because the wind was so high. And it was 50, 60 mile an hour winds, and so the helicopters couldn't get up and to help fight the fire the first few days. That and those guys make such a big difference in getting it under control. Those first few days with that wind like that, the helicopters are grounded for their safety.
Wow. Yeah. And had never heard anything um about Kalani Ching. So when he told me he was a helicopter pilot, I was really kind of amazed, but kind of neat because heck, I mean, flying a helicopter is not your average everyday kind of job, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So who do you get to maybe possibly accidentally run into from our class on Maui?
Kelly, Kelly Adams. Um, our boys went to high school together, and I still bump into her every once in a while. And then Kili, Christine Namau,
Yeah, yeah.
our
He was
girls.
telling me, Charles Kyoho, I think, was telling me she's got a pretty good, she's in some kind of program that helps the kids with the language and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, she's a big part of that Hawaiian immersion. I think she's more administrative now, but she's the preschool level, that Hawaiian immersion program pretty much comes under her. And and then Nolan, brother Nolan, when he needs to unwind from traveling and stuff, he'll come over and spend a few days and go holo holo on the ranch and stuff. In
right
fact,
on.
he just texted me this morning. I guess he got a concert this Saturday. He says, "Hey, meet him Saturday night, and he'll go have some tickets on the side for me and Roxanne." So I'd go down, go see him Saturday.
Yeah. So now where you're located, what's the closest town or
The little town right a few miles from here is Makawao, and then Kahului, where the airport is about 15, 20 minutes away.
oh, okay. She's not super isolated then.
Oh no, in fact, there's too many people. It's usually I'm lucky where usually I turn left and everybody is right. I head up the hill to the ranch, and everything else is the opposite way to town and everything. But this is the only ranch that was, this close to anything. Every place else, when my wife wanted to go shopping, it was like just about all day affair.
Wow.
Pack the cooler so you could keep the food cold until you got home, and kind of deal. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
When you were working in Hana, you mentioned getting to see Frank James.
Yeah,
From what I hear, he lives kind of a low-key, simple
yeah.
life.
He's down farm on the end of the road, dead end road down in Oleino. Beautiful spot down there. Um, Kapala's in there now. Kapala moved in after I left, but Kapala's been in Hana. I guess he's still working for the fire department, but he's working out of the Hana station now. Where when he first moved to Maui, he was working rescue, and the rescue squad was out of Kahului. So
Oh, okay.
my daughter and his two kids went to Kamehameha together. I think his daughter was 1 year older, and his son was maybe 2 years younger. So we'd always see him around then. But after the kids all got grown up and out of school now, and then now he's back in Hana, so I hardly see him now.
Yeah. Now, wasn't, or maybe still is it John Hutchinson? Is he on Maui?
Not that I know of.
Maybe I'm
Not
thinking of the wrong guy. It was a shorter, smaller guy. Maybe it's not John Hutchinson.
Brian Atkins was from Maui, but
Okay.
I've never seen him.
Now,
Uh,
is it Brian or Roy Fujishigi that passed?
Roy,
Okay.
I know for sure because he had come over a couple times, him and Nolan. And then when Roy passed, then Nolan called me up, told me about that. I'm not sure about Brian.
Yeah. I think I recently heard something about Brian, so I think he's still with us. So, and then you said Melissa lives there.
Yeah, Melissa. Um,
Okay.
Georgia McMillan is down in Wailuku.
Oh, okay.
Greg Harbottle, he's out on the he's on the west side, Lahaina, some side, I think. Um,
Kilauea Wilson, I guess, I talked to him on one of these sessions, and right after high school, him and Greg were partnering together to do some, I don't know, rebuilding bugs or something in the
oh,
Big Island or back in the day, but it was uh only to generate enough income to supply their other habits and recreation. Boy. So when was last time maybe you were on Oahu or anything?
oh, and I think I had to go down for a funeral not too long ago. But usually I just fly in and out. I don't usually stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still have family or on Oahu? Yeah.
Yeah.
You have siblings?
Yeah, there's six of us.
Oh wow. Okay.
So one's in Washington and the rest are on Oahu. Yeah.
Now, were you the oldest?
No, I was the youngest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was the youngest.
Mhm. In your current position, what do you work? Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, or what?
Uh depends. I mean, the past couple of weeks been 7 days.
Holy moly.
Then we'll get the weekend off. There's nothing real pressing. So there's just certain times of the year things get so hectic that you go straight through until things get done. I mean, it's like basically you got to make sure everything is good for the animals, the water and feed and whatnot. Yeah, but
And I imagine it's probably like, I mean, I experienced more up here in Minnesota, Midwest, lots of farming, and
yeah,
everything is kind of by the calendar or by the weather.
yeah. And those guys when they get into the harvest season, it's like they go until they got their lights on and they're running.
Yeah,
You know,
it's crazy.
3 hours, and then they kind of slow it down when it gets into the dead of winter, and then they're in their shop repairing stuff and whatnot. Years, maybe up until about 2010, 2015, we were shipping a lot of our calves to the mainland. And so I'd travel a lot because the cattle would go to Washington State, Oregon, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. So I'd fly up to go check on them and stuff. So I used to travel quite a bit. Then we went to grass finishing everything local and marketing everything locally. And so it's just not much traveling anymore. And I used to travel, still keep traveling for like educational stuff, seminars and whatnot across the country. But after COVID, things just got so not fun to travel. And so I hardly go anywhere.
Yeah. Now, when you ship cattle to the mainland, is it like in a container or some kind of
Yeah. So
pen
those
type setup on a?
the container basically set up with feed and water. And so you'll put in, there's enough room so every animal can stand up, lay down, walk around. And then, or the other option is the plane. And then you load them. You ship them from Maui. You'd ship them to Honolulu. They'd load the plane there, and then they fly into LA, unload
What
in LA.
what kind of plane would carry cattle?
Way back, it was just these freight planes that they were able to put up portable pens inside it. But now
Wow.
the animals are in like roll on, roll off pens. You might fit, depending on the size of the animal of the cattle, you might fit 5 to 8 per unit, and then those units are lifted onto the plane, and they're 747, but strictly for freight. But there's a limitation to what um, the the freight can be of livestock, and that's because of the ventilation system can only circulate so much air, and so they got to make sure that there's enough circulation so the animals got enough oxygen and whatnot to breathe. Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay.
and then they got livestock ships that are just strictly for shipping cattle, and those ships would be 3, 4 decks with pens on each deck, and they'd hold as many as 2,500 animals to get shipped. Trouble with those is because of the Jones Act, they got to be shipped. If they leave in Hawaii, they got to go to either Canada or Mexico. They can't go directly to a U.S. port.
Huh.
Some of that border crossing and stuff makes it difficult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you ship, your responsibility ends when they hit the coast, and then the buyer has to unload and
Well, if we're selling,
transport.
if we're selling them, our responsibility ends when that truck leaves the ranch.
Oh, okay.
But if we retain ownership, then we responsible to them until the day they walk in that slaughterhouse.
So do
So
you
that
got to supply labor or pay contract to
yeah,
unload them and
pay,
transport them?
yeah, you would pay for those work to be done. You know, the hauling, the unloading, processing, going into the feed yard. Going typically they'd go to pasture first, and so they'd go either to Oregon, Washington, or if they're going in the winter, they'd go down to Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas.
Wow.
But
That's
yeah,
fascinating because I never stopped to think that, livestock would ever have to be transported across the ocean to, you know, as part
yeah,
of the deal, yeah.
yeah. You know, you get on those interstates and you realize how many animals are traveling across the country because it's cheaper to move the animals to the feed than to truck all those loads of feed to where the cattle are. So basically,
Oh, makes sense.
wherever the corn belt is, they set up the feedlots in that area, and then the animals are all. They might be fed on grass on different parts of the country, but then they all get trucked into the corn belt to get finished, and then all of the slaughterhouses pop up around those towns, so that from the feedlot there, just a short hop right to the slaughter facilities.
Okay. Makes sense. I
Yeah,
mean, when you stop to think about it, I mean, if you're
yeah,
not involved in that industry, then
yeah. You don't give it a second thought. Yeah,
yeah. Because I know, up here we get to see a lot of pigs being transported.
yeah,
And I mean, they're all on levels. I mean, they might have three levels in the trailer going down
yeah,
the road. And
yeah. So the cattle ones with the young cattle, they'd be double decks, and then with market cattle, big animals, then it's just a single deck. Oh no, well, no, even then they'll run those real high cube ones for those animals, and it's the big thing is just to make it efficient. The transportation costs. Yeah, the more animals you can get on one truck, cheaper it gets to haul. Yeah,
that's I never ever stopped to think that, like you say, moving the animal to the feed is cheaper than moving the feed to the edible.
yeah, yeah,
But I imagine that's true because you got so much more volume of feed
yeah.
to take
Say
care of.
a good animal will take 5 pounds of grain to put on 1 pound of meat. So if they got to gain, say they weigh 800 pounds, they got to gain 400 pounds. That's 2,000 pounds of feed per animal over that 100 to 120 days. And then you multiply that by, some of those feedlots you run over 100,000 head. So that's an awful lot of feed to be moving around.
Yeah, because weight wise too, but you got a lot of volume you're suddenly dealing with, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Yeah, getting educated at the same time. Oh, good, good. Well, I'm looking forward to the reunion, man. I'm kind of excited.
yeah.
And it's been really good fun catching up with, I was talking to Daryl Yasutaki earlier today.
Uh huh.
Today was a good scheduling day. After you, I talked to Lupo, and I'll have done six of these already today. So
Holy smokes, you're staying busy.
yeah, but Daryl Yasutaki was telling me how back in school, you only really, for whatever reason, interacted with so many people or certain people. And but as we get older, the things that kept us from hanging out with different people is all gone. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
care. Classmate is classmate, and I mean, I talked to Tanya Chun earlier in the week, and I probably never said 10 words to Tanya in high school,
Uh huh.
so I'm looking forward to the 50th. It's just I'm really nervous about not recognizing people or forgetting names or
In fact, when was it? I don't know. It was last summer. I had to run to the Big Island for something, and so I was in Kohala and bumped into Philip Uten, and I hadn't seen him in forever. In fact, I didn't recognize him in first. He came up and talked to me, and I was looking at it. This guy looks familiar, but who is this? And then when I heard the voice, I goes, "Holy smokes!" So yeah, he I guess he moved back to Kohala to his folks' place because I
and
guess he had
that
Wahoo.
ties in because I saw photographs from when they got together in February on the Big Island,
Uh,
and Philip was the one guy in the photograph I couldn't recognize or make out who it
yeah,
was. So, you by chance ever run into Decker Kinney?
it's been years ever since his mom passed. It's like I haven't been able to keep up with what he's doing. The numbers that I had, they're no longer his
Hmm.
fault. I'll shoot. Maybe Philip might know. But, but yeah, I hadn't seen Decker in a long time.
Yeah. I always wonder because senior year, Decker and I were across the hall from each other in Liho Liho dorm. So he and I would always kind of either get in trouble together or do well together, or
Yeah, because when I was in Hilo, uh, I guess the first summer from my first college summer, I was working for Kahua Ranch in Kohala, and so I was staying in Kohala. So I would always bump into him when I'd come through Waimea, him and Jamie and his brother. But uh, so we then I had heard through his mom that he had moved to Oahu and he was working down there. And then every once in a while, I had his number. Every once in a while, I'd get in touch with him. But like I said, it's been a while, and when I tried his numbers, it doesn't work.
Hmm. So the rest of, or the larger part of your family is still on Oahu?
Yeah, yeah, all in Kahalu, Kaneohe. Used to be country when we were kids, but now it's just an extension. Everything just runs through the tunnels and
Yeah.
people all over. I'm
When
always
I
getting back.
was when I was there in when was I last there? 22. I drove through Kapolei just to look around, and I left in '09, come back in 22, and I mean I couldn't even get around. I didn't recognize the place that
Yeah,
much.
no, I never heard of Kapolei. It was like
Yeah,
I guess it
Makakilo.
must have been cane fields or something back then.
It was because I
Oh,
remember I was living in Waianae through high school with my dad, and you go Makakilo was on the hill, on the left was nothing.
yeah,
All the way to Ever Beach was nothing, and now it's like everything. It's crazy.
yeah, that
This family I remember from Waianae, the kid works in near the airport, I think, and he posted a picture recently on Facebook. Took him 3 hours to get home back to Waianae. You know,
uh,
stop
unbelievable.
and go, stop and go, stop and I'm going. I remember it happened to me a few times, and that is just the most unfun thing to sit through. Because you
Yeah,
cannot do nothing but, a lot of times I would pull off in Kapolei, go eat or something, just and then get home really late anyway, but at
yeah,
least you're
yeah.
at least
But
you're
at
not
least be
crawling.
relaxed when you get home.
Yeah. It's a really different world, you gotta worry. I worry about my grandkids and stuff with all the changes the country's experiencing and what they're gonna do. And do you notice if your grandkids have any? particular interest yet, or is it too early to tell? Or
I'm not sure. The oldest one, she really likes animals, so that vet tech thing I think will probably stick with her. Um, the brother, he's kind of likes mechanical stuff, so he's been taking a bunch. Nice to see that they opened up that school that he's at. When they first opened, there was a big carpentry shop. There was all these auto mechanics and different shops. And about 5, 10 years in, they shut them all down. And then they just opened up the ag program about 3 years ago. And I think last year they just opened up the auto shop. So
wow,
he's 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 gravitating to that auto shop. So it's good. I get him to just service my trucks and stuff. And
there you go.
the young one, I don't know. I think she's gonna be a princess.
Sometimes they're that way, but our first granddaughter, was the same way. Everybody did everything for her, bought her everything because she was the first one.
So,
And she's 23 now and she's a full-time welder.
all right.
Yeah, so I mean, turned around and, just I thought she was gonna be a princess, just marry some guy and just let things go by and take it all easy. But no, she's come around and doing good with the trade. And the only funny thing is her street language is so much better working surrounded by men like that.
Uh,
She doesn't have the language of a princess anymore. She describes this and that, and it's all F this, F that. I said, "What happened?" She goes, "Well, I hear it all day long, and it starts to get in her brain."
she doesn't hear it. It's just reaction already.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
but it's
you're
great.
in a male industry, and you know what it's like.
Yeah, yeah. But great for her because those trades. I mean, there'll never be a downturn in those. You're always going to need that carpenter, that welder, that carpenter.
That plumber.
Yeah, the plumber, and you know,
Yeah, she's not gonna have to worry about work or starving or anything like
yeah,
that. So, and I think if she said that if she were to maybe specialize, you can really make good money.
uh-huh,
Something that not everybody is doing.
yeah,
That's when
yeah,
they can really, really make a difference with everything.
yeah. Because there's not, some of our cattle trailers and flatbeds on our trucks are aluminum, and there aren't many welders that weld aluminum on Maui. So, like you said, that's kind of a specialty. These guys that deal with stainless steel and whatnot, same thing. But yeah, it's a great deal to be. When you need it, you can command the price that you deserve.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. What day you think you're gonna go into the for the reunion? You be
I
there?
think we were flying Thursday because they got that kupuna luncheon or something that Thursday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
You guys are planning
flying.
to get in on that.
Yeah, so flying Thursday morning and probably come home Sunday midday or Sunday afternoon or something.
Yeah, I get in Thursday, but about midday, so I didn't sign up for the Kapuna
Mm-mm.
luncheon thing. But at the same time, too, I think Kilauea is going to be doing some stuff with the raw food and poo type stuff. So,
Mm-mm.
maybe I'll track him down and lend a hand or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and I'm gonna stay in the dorms already registered for that. So after all my years of boarding. It was and I look back on it, that was really something that I ended up using, 6 years of boarding at Tumemea.
You
When
know?
I went away to go college, I mean, we were
Yeah, you
old
were ready
hands,
for it.
man.
Yeah, yeah. You
It
know,
was funny to see all these guys wandering around with their
trying to
bags in
figure
their
out
hands and no
how
idea
to
what to do or
how
where
to
to go.
wash your clothes, how do you iron your shirt, and yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Well, good. I look forward to seeing you in June, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for putting this thing together. It's been fun watching these
Yeah.
collection that you got.
Now remember, you're boss. You don't work too hard now.
Okay, Kermit. Aloha. Take care.
Aloha.